everybody, welcome back. I didn't do any kind of like barn vlog, but I had these two rides that I filmed on Zeke and 10, and I was just going to kind of walk you guys through, like, this is a pretty good idea of what I do on a regular basis. I mean, some things I focus more on one day, some things I focus more on another day, but generally this is pretty much what I've been doing. So basically, at the beginning of every ride on every single horse, I walk them around for probably about 5 minutes or so, a couple laps around the arena each way, on a completely loose rein, no contact or anything like that. And then what I will do after that is basically start to try and get them stretching in the walk and try and get them as low as I can. I'll flex them a little bit one direction, flex them a little bit the other direction. I'll add in some leg yields, essentially just trying to get their bodies loosened up. But I wouldn't say I have them on like a whole bunch of contact, but I will pick up the reins and kind of start flexing them a little bit both directions. I do this longer with Zeke because he takes such a long time to loosen up, and he can get pretty locked, especially on that left side. So I spend the time to just really get his body warmed up. So as you can see, just trying to keep him down and low, and then I will do the exact same thing at the trot. So I will take him around both directions, down the long sides, doing circles, just trying to get him stretching. And then I'll flex him one direction, flex him another direction. But that's kind of what I'm just doing here, is just trying to get him to stretch down, just really loosen up those muscles over his top line, so that way when I start to pick him up, his back is loose and he's not stiff. So all of this from the beginning of just walking on a completely loose rein, basically on the buckle, to the stretching in the walk, stretching in the trot, and then I will also do this at the canter with Zeke. Probably takes about, I would say about anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes of my ride, and then the other 10 to 15 minutes or so, depending on how long I ride, is actually working on like exercises and stuff. So here, just getting him to stretch. When I do this, a lot of times I'll have to really get them bending around my inside leg. So I'll kind of put my inside leg on to move that rib cage over, just basically trying to get control of every part of their body. So now you can see I am doing the same thing in the canter, just trying to get him to stretch down, really stretch out that top line. And this is actually harder for him in the canter than it is the trot, especially going on that left lead. It's coming along, but if he's like particularly spooky that day or just kind of wild, I won't do this at the canter, just because he'll start just spooking and taking off. And with me trying to get him to stretch and having such long reins, I don't really want to have to be grabbing for my reins, if that makes sense. But he was super lazy this day, like really lazy. I don't think I had any spurs on, and I didn't have a whip, so I mean, it is what it is. But and then gotta give him some loves, you know. So then after I do all of that, then I will start picking him up and doing walk to halt transitions. So here I ask for the halt, and then just kind of sit there and wait till he softens that underside of his neck and kind of drops down a little bit. And then when I send him forward, I don't want him to brace against my hands. So this process I do every single ride. I have to do this every single ride, because He really needs to get that halt established and that half halt established and listening to my body. And as you can see, he's pretty stubborn. He's like, I'll just sit here, it's fine. When we first started doing this with him, he would back straight up. So he's come a long way. So after I do this, I do it both directions. I'll pick him up into a sitting trot and start kind of doing the same thing. So the trot to halt, and then do that exact same thing where I ask him to halt and then send him forward. And then I will start, as you can see here, I'm doing some 10-meter circles and some leg yields. So I kind of mix it up. I don't want him to know what I'm going to ask. So then you can see I halt, wait for him to drop down, and then kind of give him a little bit of the reins, about a half an inch. I just kind of push my hands forward about a half an inch and then ask him to go forward. So now I'm doing this is about a 15-meter circle, so it's a little bit bigger. And then I will start doing some shoulder ins. So getting him into the shoulder in, this is his decent direction. The shoulder in right is harder for him, but it doesn't really, I pick and choose what side I start with. I just kind of go around. There's no really rhyme or reason, but I do make sure that I add in halts in between, lots of transitions, lots of 10-meter circles, just trying to get him broken loose and listening to that outside rein and the half halts. So then I'll do a 10-meter circle, and he trips there, and then come into a haunches in. So I don't do a whole lot of haunches in with him. I'm more focused on like the shoulder in and the leg yields and the half passes. But he really likes the haunches in. I think he thinks it's fun. So now I'm trying to get a half pass, but he's a little locked on that left rein, so he's tilting his head. And then I'll change directions, do the same thing. So this is his bad side for the shoulder in, because he's really got to push with that inside hind leg, which is his weak hind leg, the right one. So you can see how he kind of cocks his head. This direction is kind of difficult for him. The left is kind of difficult, but like this one, as far as like trying to get him to half halt, is a lot harder because he gets really stuck in the jaw on that left side. So he just kind of gets like choppy. So then I go into the shoulder in this direction, and this one was quite a bit better. But you really have to put in that work with those 10-meter circles and transitions and really just establishing that half halt. And when you kind of give a little check on that outside rein, they should drop and get a little bit deeper. So again, this is the direction that he has that hard time with that outside half halt. So I typically have to do a lot more 10-meter circles this direction. So you can see frequently throughout my rides, I go to the halt. And because I want them to be kind of expecting it. So I do it a lot, but I don't want them to know when I'm going to do it. So then I go into doing some half passes, and that is I think that's his better side. The left half pass is a little bit harder for him. And then we've got a spook. I just try to ignore them. I don't, if they spook, I just kind of sit there and then just keep going like nothing happened, like no big deal. And then gonna go to a little bit of a medium trot and then bring him back and just make sure he's listening. And he can try and take me sometimes when we go into some more of the extended work. So I think I come back and do a little bit of a medium trot there, and then just ask him to come back. Obviously this indoor is a little bit small, so I really can't do a whole lot, but then I'll do some rein backs. I really didn't do many of them with him for quite a long time, and then I realized when I was doing these that I was like, oh god, these are not good. So now I've started incorporating those back into my rides because he would just hollow out. But once I'm done kind of working through all of that at the trot, then I'll go up to the canter. And depends on the day, I'll do canter to walk transitions, walk to canter, canter to walk. It just really kind of depends on what I'm feeling that day. But I think I'm coming down the center line because I was going to practice the 4th level test, but then I was like, man, he is just too lazy, and it's just this isn't going to happen. And the Pivo, a lot of these rides were cut, or both of these rides were cut pretty short because the Pivo, where I had it set up, if you have it set up in a corner like this and you've got a wall, it just kind of lost me. So, but this arena is so small, setting it up in the middle is kind of difficult because I want to use the center line. But it is what it is. I work with what I got. So as you can see, I mix it up a lot. I do one thing and then I'll go and do something else, and then I basically, the way I kind of look at my rides is trying to mix it up and do things to where I feel like I can find something that I need to fix, if that makes sense. So if I go into a half pass, if he's stiff on that left rein, then I know I got to fix that, and then I'll try it again, and then try a shoulder in, try a halt, try whatever it is. And we've been working on the changes a lot. Obviously, he's late behind quite a bit, but they're coming along. They're getting a lot better, and definitely a significant amount better. And then little half pass-ish, and then into another change. And this side's usually not the side that he's late on, but like I said, he was super lazy, and when he's super lazy and not like wanting to use himself, he's just late behind on both aids. So that's kind of what was happening this day. And he kind of gets balled up in the canter, which is a little bit of my fault because he obviously is so big, and when he does stuff like that, it used to be so much worse. If you watch some of my older videos, he would literally take off with me and I couldn't stop him. So I feel like I tried to compact him up a little bit too much, and now I kind of created a different problem. So now we're working through and trying to get that fixed now that I'm comfortable with a little bit more power, if that makes sense. So doing a little half pass here, and then I think I asked for the change there. A little late, but that's okay. He was only late by 1. And then coming in, kind of asked for the half pass here, but not really. Late behind, like, 4? Yeah, 4 strides. No big deal. Builds character. But this is basically what I've been doing with him as far as trying to get him quiet with the changes, is just doing them. Like, doing a lot of them. Doing them out of a half pass, doing them at a quarter line, doing them at a center line, just like trying to do as many changes as I can so that way he's not like every time I go to ask for it. That was not a change, but he kind of like went to a halt, but then like didn't. But I was like, I'm cool with it. That's fine. But you can see here, he's just too slow. And again, this arena is super small, so I mean, I don't blame him. It's hard for him to get moving in this arena and really get underneath himself because like the corners come up so quickly, but you do what you can. I mean, he can get from one side of the arena to the other, like in his regular, like in like 3 strides. And then some more. Trying half pass, but he's just like using his front end and not using his back end because he's being lazy. But that's alright. And then what do we do here? I think this is honestly like we're just change, just to get them boring almost. If he's too excited or too anxious about it, then he gets a little bit wild in him. So I'm like, the more we do it, the more they're boring, the less exciting they are, the quieter they'll be, which this has really worked like a lot. He's gotten a lot more calm in the changes, and he's not so worried after the change either, because I don't know if we think he was probably chased into them, and then if he was like late behind, then he was like really nervous. So now I just kind of sit there and I just kind of let him go. I don't get upset. I don't get I just kind of let him do his thing. He'll eventually pick up that back lead, and if he doesn't, then I'll go back down to the walk and then re-pick up the canter. So if you've got a horse that tends to be a little bit exuberant with the changes, doing canter to walk, canter to walk, canter to walk, and then alternating which lead you pick up is a good way to kind of get them a little bit calmer. And then just once you've got those and they're being respectful with it, doing a lot of canter, and then just doing the changes. And then, as they don't punish them if they get a little bit crazy, but just keep doing them. And as they kind of calm down, then start praising them a lot. And then here's 10. So same thing with 10. I work on a completely loose rein, basically on the buckle, walking around, and then I will walk, doing a stretchy walk, and then stretching trot. And he was pretty lazy this day too. I think it was just a theme. But I had my whip for this one because I have to carry it with him. Otherwise, sometimes he's just like, I'm not going to listen to your leg. But he comes out a little bit stiff too. And I can't remember what day this was, but I think it actually had been a couple days. Actually, they hadn't been ridden in 4 days because I was out of town in Chicago. So they hadn't been ridden. I think this was Monday, and they hadn't been ridden since Tuesday. So I guess that's 5 days. So they were both pretty stiff, and they were both surprisingly lazy, but yeah, they were both stiff, and when they've been in work 5 days a week for X amount of time and then have 5 days off, and it had rained the majority of that weekend, so they didn't really get out much. So then I'll go in and pick them up a little bit and start doing some leg yields from the wall, kind of out to the quarter line, and then back to the wall, and just really try and get him loose, get those hind legs loose, and get both sides of his jaw loose, because he tends to get pretty stiff on the left rein too. And then I will go in and start trying to do a little bit of a medium trot, just kind of pushing him forward, getting him to move forward, and then back into leg yields, shoulder in. So with him, it's basically the same thing. I just mix up as much as I can and try and find what areas I need to work on, try and loosen up more, do that, and then move on to the next thing. So yep, we've got, trying to think, a little bit more of almost a medium trot. That's definitely going to be his weak point, is the extensions, the trot especially. So then I'll go into the canter, really try and get him forward and up, and just trying to adjust the head with my fingers. So obviously you want to push them forward first, catch with your fingers, fix, and then send them forward again. So it's that whole repetitive process of pick them up, send them forward, fix them, let them go. So that's basically what I think in my head every single time I'm riding. So he tends to get a little bit balled up, and a lot of times in the canter, it's gotten tremendously better, but I'll have to bring my inside rein into the middle of the arena a little bit, and then give him a little check on that outside rein just to keep him straight and using his hind end and not cocking his head from one side to the other. So kind of the same thing there a little bit. Had to bring my left hand to the inside, and then trying to work on some canter to walk transitions. His walk to canter is good, his canter to walk is a little bit more tough. So then I decided, I was like, we'll play with third level a little bit and try and do some third level stuff. So in my head, I was like, we'll do some of the stuff from the third level test. So in the third level 1 test, you come out of the corner into a shoulder in, and then do a half circle into the half pass, and then basically the same thing on the other side. So then we'll come around and do the shoulder in right, and then down into a half circle, and then a half pass right. And then I couldn't remember, it's been a bit since I've done the third level 1 test, but I just decided to do a halt and a rein back after this. I don't know if that's correct or not, so don't shoot me. But there is a halt and a rein back after a trot somewhere in the second level test. So you can see it gets a little stuck there, but ended up doing it pretty well. I actually went right into the trot and then did a medium trot across, which is a third level 3 movement where you go from the rein back right into the trot instead of the walk, I think. I don't know, I'm getting my tests mixed up. So then I'm going to do the walk pirouettes. It all looked good until right there he got stuck and then kind of inverted a little bit. His walk pirouettes are getting a lot better though. I think this one was, but nope, got stuck on those hind legs there. So he just wasn't active enough behind, which is just very common for him. I mean, we're still working through all of it, so the stronger he gets, the more we do it, the better he'll be. So I think the third level test, you go into an extended canter and then come into a circle and then a change. I can't remember if I did it or not. When I went around the corner, the camera lost me. But yeah, the camera lost me on that side. But so I did that 10-meter circle, asked for the change. He gave me the front, didn't give me the back, but that's okay. Still praised him and let him know he was good. And then back down to the trot, and then into another, well, what's supposed to be extended, but his is just, we're never going to get high scores on that. Not until a long time, if at all. I think that's just going to be a weak movement for him. And then into a halt. And I was trying to get him to move that right front up, and then he moved all the way up, and then he did a good halt. So after this, I think I started playing with the changes a little bit, playing with some counter canter. Counter canter is really hard for him. He actually has a really long back, so getting his hind end underneath him and doing that collected work is really, really hard for him. So he's getting better. I mean, just his canter from where it was a year ago to where it is now is insane. So I can't even imagine what he's going to be like in another year from now. So I just try to let him come down to the trot before it gets really hard and before he starts getting hoppy, so that way he doesn't get super stressed out in it. And his left lead counter canter is better because his left lead in general is just stronger. But he, I mean, he's coming along. I'm really, really proud of how he's doing. His walk to canter transitions are really, really good. You can see there he's kind of cocking his head to the outside, so I brought my hand to the inside, little check on that outside rein, sent him forward, and asked for a little bit of the half pass here, and then asked for, I tried to keep him going, but he kind of just ran out of steam, and that's okay. I mean, this is probably one of the harder movements for him. That one wasn't too bad, got a little hoppy, but I want him to enjoy doing these movements as we're building the strength while we're doing them. I don't want him to be nervous, I don't want him to be upset. I want him to think this is fun. He really enjoys doing things that are hard, but I think he gets frustrated because his body can't catch up to his mind. So I think this is where I start playing with some changes, maybe. I don't remember. I edit these and then go and do the voiceovers later, so I can't remember. Yep, so he almost did the change there and then waited until I asked, and then he was obviously late behind, but it had a lot of activity. So then coming this direction, little half pass. He doesn't have enough bend, but that's okay. But then he did a change and it was really good. And he didn't get flustered. I was very, very happy with that one. So here he kind of gets balled up a little bit. So I try and send him forward, and then he hollows out and then gets all choppy. But still gave me a good change. Again, wasn't clean, but that'll just come with time. That'll come with strength. He gets some clean. He gets some that aren't. Some he swaps the back and then the front. It's just kind of all over the place. But I just make sure to, anytime he tries, just to praise him. Like, you know how I do when you can hear me going, oh my God, it's so good. So then I ended with a little trot half pass. Just to try and get those stifles a little bit stronger, because I noticed he was feeling a little bit choppy behind. So I did some trot half passes. I think, yeah, this is his good side. The other side is his harder side, but I did that, and then I ended with doing a little bit more of that medium trot, just trying to get him to push forward. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I've got a lot more coming, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you would like to see more videos. I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.